Monday, July 7th. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we talk a bit about cheating and all of its stripes and flavors.
Let's do this. So I have actually, believe it or not, been playing some video games lately.
Wait. A new video game? Because you could say that and just be playing Punch-Out, the old Punch-Out. As was often the case.
No. I'm playing, well, depending on your point of view. Well, one of them, first of all, I played this, there's a game called Trine, Trine. And the demo is on Steam, and also the full version's on Steam for $30. And I think it might be on PS3. I don't know. But it is a side-scrolling, puzzly, platformy game. And basically, you have a wizard, a knight, and a thief, and they each do different things. And you have to, get to the end of the level.
Well, we were trying to play it over the weekend.
Actually, I did play it. And the thing about this game is it's co-op. You can play 1, 2, or 3 players on the same machine. Well, and this makes for a really, really interesting time.
It looked really fun. The problem was we had 4 people who wanted to play it. Only 3 people can play it. No one wanted to pay $30 for it.
Yeah, when this game goes on, if you got tons of money, sure, go $30, go nuts, right? The thing is, there's no network multiplayer, so it's sort of like, you got to play locally. You got to.
But at the same time, while I can't excuse the lack of the online multiplayer, I will at least say that local multiplayer for a game like that
it's pretty great.
Is much more satisfying than playing online.
I think it's basically, if you liked, the Bionic Commando Rearmed, play this thing. Get 3 friends together, play this co-op locally on your PC. Get, 3 Xbox 360 gamepads, so that you can actually play it. Because to play with the keyboard, it was just terrible. Forget it.
So speaking of which,
3 gamepads.
If you never played Bionic Commando Rearmed, buy it and play it.
Oh yeah,
co-op.
Duh.
That game is great.
Yeah.
In fact, we should beat the co-op sometime.
But there's a free demo of Trine. So play the demo, which is all I've played, and you'll probably like it immediately. And I guess maybe we'll talk more about that game if and when we buy the full version and play co-op through the whole thing. Who knows? I've also been playing Blood Bowl.
What, the old board game?
No.
Well, kinda.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little stuff. I'm probably going to repeat what I'm about to say if, because we're definitely going to do a whole show about Blood Bowl, the video game.
Oh, yes.
The new one. But I'll say stuff now and repeat it later anyway. Blood Bowl was an old board game, a miniatures board game made by Games Workshop, the same people who make Warhammer and such. And basically what it is it's fantasy football. But it's not fantasy football. It's not fantasy football in terms of like Yahoo Sports fantasy football. It's get the ball in the end zone with orcs, dwarves, and elves. It's that kind of fantasy football.
It's very much in the Warhammer universe.
Very much. The game itself, the board game, you can still buy it, I think. It shouldn't be too hard to find. I'm not sure how in print it is,
Millennium Games always has at least like 1 copy.
Yeah, I could definitely, if I wanted to, I could get a new copy, but they're like $75. There was a video game version of it for DOS back in the day, right? Then there was a company sort of made a game called Chaos League, and Games Workshop was like, hey, what the fuck is this Chaos League shit, Blood Bowl thieves? What the fuck? But instead of getting all stupid, they just got those guys, and they had them make Blood Bowl, the video game, and you can get it right now for $50, which is a lot, but, and the game has many problems. However, deep inside the game, well, not too deep inside, you can play Blood Bowl, the original board game, as per the Living Blood Bowl 5.0 rule set, exactly according to those rules, and you don't have to deal with setting up the pieces or rolling the dice or any of that annoying shit. You'll never have, like, rules arguments. You never have to get your measuring stick or deal with any of that bullshit, and you can play a game of Blood Bowl in a short amount of time. Even though the user interface is bleh, you can play it online against people. So if you like Blood Bowl, it's a game for you, and it's probably worth $50. I've been playing it quite a bit.
Well, it's tricky watching Scott play it because he'll play it and he'll come downstairs or something and say, man, that game is awesome. But then an hour later, he'll be playing it. He'll say, man, that game sucks.
It usually depends on if I roll the dice well, if I virtually roll the dice well or not.
It got to the point to where I'd come home from work and I'd just ask him, so is Blood Bowl good or bad?
It's one of those games where, some games have a lot of randomness, right? Let's say Monopoly, where your whole game rests on the rolls of the dice. Or you'll have a game with no randomness or almost no randomness, like, say, Go, right?
Yep.
But Blood Bowl, it's like it has this randomness, but the randomness is, you can mitigate for it. You could
Mitigate for.
Yes, you act in such a way and take moves in such a way that, even if you roll poorly and you get the worst possible result, you'll still be all right and you're not going to just lose because of it.
I would say more, too, for a game like Blood Bowl, specifically Blood Bowl, a game where tackling may or may not involve death. It's, steamrollers on the field, but, maybe at halftime the ref will say, hey, that's an illegal weapon. Stop using it.
Yeah.
But the randomness is such that a game like this will have that tension of a real sports game where one team might be better than the other team and the game might be going pretty solidly, but someone could hit a grand slam at any time.
Well, the base has to be loaded first. But yeah, it's like
they could load the bases
most of
and
the
then hit a
time,
grand slam.
the randomness, you mitigate for it, you handle it, and if you're a smart player, you're not going to lose just because you rolled poorly.
Again, the mitigate for, that's not how you use that word.
No?
You say you mitigate it.
Anyway. But I didn't understand what you were saying before. Anyway, but there's occasions where one roll is like a huge deal, and it actually ends up being like a real sport. Occasionally someone catches that long bomb, and it's just crazy awesome. And it's if the other team gets that crazy awesome long bomb, then you'd hate the game.
Yeah.
If you get it, it's the best game ever. Look at that dramatic, last play of the game touchdown.
We have to play the game a lot more before we talk about it.
That
in
is
any
correct.
Substantial detail.
So let us move to news.
So, what do you have?
What do I have? Well, there is a company that in the past, there are actually many game companies that in the past made great games, and really nowadays either don't make such good games or don't make games at all. And one such company is LucasArts, which, is definitely, if you don't know, it is tied to Lucasfilm, which
They
is
made
Star Wars.
some of the better and some of the worst games to come out from that era.
The thing is, back in the day, they didn't just make Star Wars games, although they did make Star Wars games. They made other games like, Indiana Jones Adventure Games, which was also a Lucas property.
Yep,
They made things like The Dig and Loom and Monkey Island and Full Throttle and a lot of point-and-click adventure games, which you can play in the ever-famous Scum VM. But they made some other games, too, and actually they've got lots of recent games like, Lego Indiana Jones, Lego Star Wars, the defunct Star Wars Galaxies, I think, was actually Sony, right?
The thing is, though, those Lego games, I really like the style of them, but you can't play those games for more than 15 minutes with a thinking adult brain and not continue to keep that thinking adult brain active.
Yeah.
That game is just, oh my God, those are not even games.
The cutscenes are really funny.
They are, but they're not games.
Well, it's a walk around and hit things. That's it. It's Gauntlet. That's what it is. Gauntlet.
I think we spent more time killing each other in the ready room than we ever did playing the game.
Yeah, all those Lego games, like Lego Star Wars, is Gauntlet. Anyway, so the thing is, a lot of these games have been unavailable for a very long time, which is why Scum VM exists, because people wanted to play old LucasArts adventure games that they loved on modern computers. And so they made Scum VM. Now, the thing is, just now, for the first time in a long time, some of these games are actually going to return. First of all, they're making a new Monkey Island game. It's not a remake of an old Monkey Island game. It's actually a brand new Monkey Island game. It's all 3D and shit, and it's coming out soonish. I don't know exactly when. They're also releasing the original Monkey Island, but it's going to be all new, just like the new Monkey Island with 3D and the whole thing, as far as I know. So if you never played the Monkey Island and you want to play it legitimately and not just go download and use ScumVM, you can buy that. And you'll also, if you're a fan of the old Monkey Island, you're the kind of person who played them all 10 times, like I know many people are, you can go and get this new Monkey Island game and continue in your Threepwood actions.
Well, Monkey Island, if not, they're very important to play at least once, because you'd be surprised how many of the kind of offhand references in gaming culture came from those games that people don't even recognize anymore. Like, they'll make a joke but not realize that Monkey Island is where that joke came from.
I remember I got a CD from a PC Gamer magazine.
Oh my God, Coconut Monkey.
Hello, I'm Coconut Monkey.
Coconut Monkey, how do you keep beating me? Even you have neither arms nor legs.
It, in fact, was a Coconut Monkey CD.
Oh my God, I should make Coconut Monkey my thing of the day. Forget Star Wars.
Oh, is he on YouTube?
I'll find him. You keep talking.
All right. Hello, I'm Coconut Monkey. And on my PC Gamer CD that Scott got in his magazine, there was the full version of Monkey Island. And if you paid $20, you could get a code that would unlock it. So you didn't need to go and buy a CD. I never paid that $20.
Oh my God, there's a whole ton of Coconut Monkey in here.
Oh, shit.
All right, I think I got a new thing of the day.
All right, anyway. So yeah, they're also, the main news here is not what I just said about Monkey Island or PC Gamer CDs. It's that LucasArts is putting a bunch of games on Steam tomorrow. Of course, you're probably listening to this tomorrow. So today, July, 8th?
Let's see. It's July 8th, blah, 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 blah. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis.
That's an
Indiana
adventure game.
Jones and the Last Crusade.
Adventure game.
The graphic adventure. There was a colon there. You interrupted me.
Yep.
Loom.
Loom, for people who don't know, is a point-and-click adventure game. As far as I know, it was the first ever game released on CD-ROM.
It's also kind of a special game.
It's very special. It's probably not like any other game. It's not like any other game you've played.
Yeah.
It's not Doom. It's Loom.
Yes.
Like a loom you use to weave things.
I witnessed not that long ago the saddest conversation I've ever seen online that basically went along the lines of, man, I just got a copy of Loom. That game was awesome. Oh, you mean Doom? Yeah, that was pretty awesome. No, Loom. There was a game called Loom.
Yes, there was a game called Loom. It was pretty significant.
Yep. The Dig, Armed and Dangerous, Lego Indiana Jones, blah, 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 Star Wars Battlefront 2, Star Wars Republic Commando, Star Wars Starfighter, Thrillville Off the Rails. I don't even know what that is.
I don't even know what that is either. People like those Battlefront games, but, obviously, some of these games might be exciting to you, especially probably the Loom and the Dig and Fate of Atlantis, right? Those are good point-and-click adventures, but nothing else really that exciting as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
However,
plus,
what is exciting is that, look, LucasArts is putting games on Steam. This is just the beginning. If this is the beginning, that's a pretty damn good beginning.
I mean, look, they started with, 10 games, and they're all just straight up, pixel for pixel ports.
And the question, the obvious thing to say is TIE Fighter coming? Question mark, exclamation point.
And aside, TIE Fighter and TIE Fighter CD, which was just TIE Fighter remade a year later, but, well, not even remade, just the graphics were made better, have been rated pretty consistently among the greatest game ever made.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of old games that we rave about that are hard or impossible to play in current days, right? We talk about games like, you can play them in current days, but it's a little tricky, right? We talk about Mega TF ain't around, Tribes 2, right? TIE Fighter is probably like the one old game. It was so great, yet I don't even know how to play it today. I couldn't even.
I still do.
Even if I pirate it, how would I get it to run? I can use DOSBox.
It's backspace for full throttle, and then on my hat, up, down, left, and right would redirect all the shields.
No, I mean how to get it to run.
Oh, I was playing it like a year and a half ago in DOSBox, just fine.
Really?
Yeah.
Might be worth pirating.
Pirating, I own it. I still have the CD. It's under my bed. In fact, I can kick the box it's in with my foot right now.
Why don't we get that shit going?
You want to?
Why
TIE
not?
Fighter. TIE Fighter, as I recall, I believe was given the highest rating a game had ever been given by PC Gamer when it came out. And it was only beaten the following year by itself re-released.
Oh, shit.
TIE Fighter is just... It was actually a game came before it called X-Wing. And that game was okay. And it was the same basic
X-Wing,
game.
Yeah, it was a game where you fly an X-Wing. That was it.
And TIE Fighter was just X-Wing kind of redone. Graphics are better, controls are better, gameplay was better, but more importantly, you play as just some guy, a low-level grunt TIE Fighter pilot working for the Empire, which is a force of peace and prosperity fighting against these anarchist rebel scum.
Of course.
And you're going around doing all the stuff that the Empire was doing that wasn't all necessarily that evil. Of course, you're also doing all the evil, but it's always portrayed in this very good way. And you know what? Having played all of X-Wing and having played all of TIE Fighter, fuck the Rebels. It is so much more fun and more rewarding to be a member of the nation of the Empire.
Duh.
Snazzy uniforms, nice equipment, everybody's real professional.
Yeah, who wants to fly like some piece of shit X-Wing that's like falling apart? You know, you can fly a nice, clean TIE Defender.
You don't get a TIE Defender, only like the best of the best. You're going to be flying some TIE Fighter with no shields.
I'm the best of the best, though.
Yeah, well, you'll die like the rest.
Hey, you know, loaded with like 8 torpedoes. Good times. Ship actually works. The thing is, we're going to link to some YouTube videos because barely anyone's actually played TIE Fighter.
This game
was from what year? Like 94?
I think it was released in 94
So it's
and
15 years old?
then re-released in 95.
So it's 15 years old.
You needed a
Maybe
full,
for the 15th anniversary. Maybe they are going
you
to
basically needed your full keyboard ready to go, and you had to memorize all the buttons.
Yeah, look how complicated this game is, but yet look how many features it has that are just, you know, this is an old DOS game, and this game did shit that is just not present in modern games at all. It's like games got worse, and you look at this game, it's like, wow, really? That's 94? Shit, that's better than like any game out today.
I mean, no game has come close to it. There were a
Like
few...
the voice acting is actually good, movie good.
Well, no, it is video game good. It's,
No, it's not. It's movie good.
It gets a little awkward.
It's
in
Star
some
Wars
of the,
good.
Some of the other cutscenes.
Quite. Is Star Wars good?
Signal Vice Admiral Thrawn to have his TIE squadrons launched immediately.
Yeah, the cutscenes are like amazing.
You just want to see more Admiral Thrawn.
What's wrong with Admiral Thrawn? You know, you actually have all these ships, you know, and like they actually, you know, the configurations, and you can have so many ships out in space all fighting at the same time and give guys orders. And like the game actually has a very high attention to detail. Like, let's say you go out on a mission and Darth Vader's out with you on the mission. If you accidentally give him orders, you're in trouble.
Yep.
You don't tell him what to do.
Also, don't let him die. He might do something stupid. He might mess up.
Yeah. You can do pretty much anything. I mean, you could turn around and try to blow up the Star Destroyer if you want.
Yeah, he'll start
Good
shooting
luck.
back.
Oh, yeah. Good luck with that.
I got good enough at the game where I would get bored and I would just get in like a TIE Advanced and just try to destroy all of the capital ships in a mission and then hyperspace out.
Mm-hmm.
I did it once.
Nice.
Like, I destroyed 2 Star Destroyers and my entire fleet. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know what would be really cool is if you did that, then it would just load up X-Wing.
there were games that came after that were updates.
Well,
improvements.
X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
Fuck that game. That game was so unplayable and broken.
And
but
then X-Wing Alliance.
X-Wing Alliance was actually really playable, but it was too little too late. It kind of came out at the end of the joystick era. There are no longer joysticks. We just now recently had that one Logitech flight stick that
I don't know what
out.
game they made that for.
I don't know why they made it.
Yeah. I mean, it looks pretty good from what I had to use it to find out.
I hope that it can be the chicken or the egg in the chicken-egg conundrum of there are no free space shooters because there aren't joysticks. There are no joysticks because there aren't free space shooters.
But no one's going to pay that much.
I know.
Thing.
But then again, people bought that stupid console to play the mech game on the Xbox.
Not too many people, though.
Enough people.
Yeah, the Steel Battalion.
Especially considering that gigantic monolithic console did almost nothing for the game. You hit most of those buttons once.
Yeah, I almost feel like maybe the time to come back with the free space shooter might have been like some years ago when people were really willing to buy plastic instruments.
TIE Fighter was just so great, and if they remade it, if this game ever came out as an updated multiplayer game,
oh my god,
I look forward to this. And more so than I could have possibly looked forward to Team Fortress 2 or even NS2.
Well, you heard it here first. Prediction, 15th anniversary of TIE Fighter re-release.
I hope that by saying it, we've made it so.
Make it so.
You know what Make It So is from, right?
No.
Okay. Anyway. So I don't want to talk about this a lot, but there was an article on Slashdot a while ago, and what I found more interesting, as usual, than the article were the comments about the article. But the article was talking about, it raised the question, why don't MMOs allow easier transportation? And it talks a lot about how in MMOs, you pretty much have to point your guy in a direction, and he walks and walks and walks and walks and walks, and then you get somewhere. And the arguments on one side were that if you let people teleport everywhere, then the world feels too small. But then people counter-argued by saying that, no, the world feels small because you have to walk through these desolate wastelands where there's nothing interactive anywhere along the way. And It's a complex issue, and I'm not sure. I don't think there's a good answer yet, but MMOs suck.
Well said.
No,
Jolly good.
But no, in the comments, what I found interesting was that most of the people who were arguing against the question of why don't we, who were saying we shouldn't make it easier, were making these really kind of weird, like reflective, like there were arguments that only made sense inside of the context of the MMOs that they played. Like they would argue that like something in the game, like, well, we don't need to make transportation faster because the game already did it. If you get this trinket and this trinket and this mount, the mount flies 50% faster than normal, you can get there in like 4 minutes instead of 8. Therefore, we don't need to make it any faster. And it's like, what kind of person makes an argument like that?
Person who's only thinking inside the box?
I mean, quote, then they added the Burning Crusade expansion with flying mounts. The level 40 mounts dropped to 60 gold. The level 60 mounts dropped to blah, 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 blah. I'm trying to skip ahead to the part that matters. For a 60% flying speed mount, wow, never mind. I picked the wrong wall of text to read.
Anyway.
But it ends with, you could boost these numbers by a further 10% if you get the right trinkets and equip them.
Uh-huh.
And that is the argument against making travel faster in MMOs.
I think the thing is, Fallout actually did a pretty good job of, you walk somewhere the first time you want to go there, and that forces you to, explore the map. And the map in Fallout, while it wasn't as extensive as an MMO map, it was pretty big, and there was actually stuff all over the place, even if a lot of it was sort of repetitive stuff. There was stuff everywhere to explore. And, I think actually Half-Life 2 had a better transportation in terms of exploring, even though it was linear. Because, like, you're driving down the road in your little dune buggy, and you see a house off to the side. You can go and fully explore that house, or you can keep going, And I think, the feel of exploring a big world and finding actual stuff in it is in itself fun. But once you get somewhere, once I've already made a trip, right? Why should I make the same trip again if nothing along that road has changed?
Well, one argument
there might
is that
be an alternative road.
One argument is that there are some game-breaking mechanics that could come into play where, say you can teleport anywhere you've already been, then maybe you can use that to get away from someone who hasn't been somewhere yet immediately, instead of them having to chase you, stuff like that.
Well, I mean, obviously, think about this, right? Like in Fallout 3, if there are bad guys about, you can't quick walk. You have to get rid of them first. So if someone's after me and there's like a bad guy chasing me, I can't teleport while the bad guy's chasing me. I gotta fight it or get away from it so that it's no longer chasing me, and then I can teleport. It's a simple fix. It's already been implemented in other games.
Though, remember, look at a non-MMO like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, and just remember the thing where you just had a map and you picked where you wanted to go, and it would kind of interrupt your automatic travel periodically and show you a little cutscene, a little random interaction. And what I think should make an MMO awesome, why MMOs could be so awesome, would be those weird interactions where you're traveling somewhere and you meet someone on the road, or you find something along the way that's interesting. But I think the problem is that the MMO...
It's just you're holding down one arrow and just walking.
The MMO that everyone plays, World of Warcraft, doesn't have that. You're not going to run into anything you want to run into on your way somewhere.
You might just have to fight some annoying bad guys.
Or you're on your way to a raid, you don't want to be late, or you're just bored. And everyone I know who plays World of Warcraft always, they'll like I see them, they'll set their character to auto-run somewhere, and they're like watching a movie in a window or playing Bejeweled or something.
They got Twitter in WoW now, I hear.
That's not worse than Bejeweled, so I can't talk about it.
No.
Whenever something like that happens, I can't talk about it unless it's worse than the last thing that happened.
I'm just
Notice
saying.
I haven't talked about Jack Thompson in a long, long time.
There's nothing to say about Jack Thompson in a long, long time.
Yes, and with WoW, Bejeweled is in WoW. Nothing that they could add to WoW would make me talk about that again.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the thing is, there's other things to consider, right? For example, let's say you could teleport everywhere, right? Well, if you could teleport everywhere, you'd save a lot of time. I mean, how many hours does someone spend typing?
But then the world...
Someone spend walking. Therefore, they're going to complete quests faster and complete levels faster, and they're going to get ahead in the game faster, which means they're going to reach the maximum in the game faster, they're going to get bored with the game faster, and they're going to close their account sooner.
Yep.
And so when there's an MMO, at any game that charges you monthly, they want you to spend a lot of time playing. They want to make it, take as long as possible to get ahead in the game, because then you will, they have this careful psychological balance of make it so that it takes you a long time to play so that you'll stay subscribed for many months, but also constantly reward you so that you're constantly enjoying yourself so that you will never get bored and want to stop playing.
I feel like the problem kind of, everyone who addresses this problem in the questions, even in the article, kind of looks at it from the wrong perspective, that it wouldn't be an issue if the game were truly massive, as opposed to just a giant ready room where people move between these kind of instantiated encounters.
Yep.
Because if it were truly massive, you would be interacting with interesting things all the time, and you'd be going places, and the world would just be this organic, evolving place instead of this static place that was just a kind of scenery between the two places you wanted to be to do your next raid.
That happens to have auction houses and shops and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Inns.
I guess this article just
Can you
reminds
get a house
me,
in WoW?
not like you could in a lot of other MMOs.
I don't even know.
I mean, in the Realm, I had my house and we
You
had our
had guild
hall.
houses?
I had my bedroom. I had that sword I put on my wall.
I know
and-
you could get land in Ultima Online.
Yep. I had a garden,
Yeah, so
my own private garden.
yeah. See, like if people could, yeah, so that's if I made an MMO, what I would do is I wouldn't, have like land for sale or anything stupid like that. Right? I would let people build. Like you go out. You go into there'd be a giant map. You go out, you chop down some trees, and you can build a log cabin just out in, wherever you want. And then, people who are traveling around might come across your log cabin and knock on the door. Maybe they steal all your shit, and that would be perfectly legitimate. That's how it would be, and it would be very cool. Maybe you could you could build weird things and just leave them out in the world. Like you set up, maybe like skulls on sticks, and you set up like a whole row of them in the woods somewhere. Fucking try to scare the shit out of people.
Well, I point out you could have your little place in Kingdom of Loathing, your little campsite.
Oh right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that shit. Anyway.
I don't know. WoW has diverged from its roots in some ways. Like, it's diverged from a lot of the things that made Mucks and Muds and Mushes and Moos interesting. But it's basically stuck to the one thing that was bad about Muds.
Well, it's not just WoW. I mean, there's a lot of games.
Well, I say
MMOs
WoW.
where you gotta walk to get somewhere.
It's just like how, in the Beyond Dungeons and Dragons panel, we talk a lot about Dungeons and Dragons. Everything we say applies to almost every role-playing game.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone knows D&D. Everyone plays D&D. Everyone plays WoW. And now they're the same game. So,
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I've noticed that people, whenever there's a talk about MMOs, people always bring up, like, EVE Online doesn't do that. EVE Online's the good one. Yeah, EVE Online doesn't have all these problems. Like, EVE Online is some great, amazing game. I see people playing EVE Online. You know what they're doing? Instead of going and killing rats to level up, they're going and mining asteroids to level up and get, resources, right? It's the same shit.
I was not the one who said it. It was said long before me. I'm not being original anyway, but EVE Online is the greatest spreadsheet simulator the world has ever created.
Mm-hmm. So, all these people, they're like, oh, EVE Online doesn't have these problems. Listen, I saw a guy playing it. He freaking had a ship. He had to fly it all the way out somewhere, which is the same thing as walking to get somewhere, right? He had to mine asteroids and fly them back all slow like, and it's the same thing.
So, things of the day. I'm saving Coconut Monkey. I'll wait till you all forget and I'll bring him
Hello,
up again.
I'm Coconut Monkey.
Out of nowhere, but suffice it to say, Coconut Monkey has neither arms nor legs. But my thing of the day is some footage from TIE Fighter. This is one of the cutscenes from the game, and it's a spoiler. I'm going to tell you right now. Admiral Harkov betrays your Imperial ass, and you catch him, and you give him to Darth Vader. And Darth Vader interrogates him in the episode 5 manner. It is the fact that he basically, he clearly
Let's
does
just go
not,
watch Star Wars.
He clearly does not need the answer to the question he has asked this man.
He reread his mind. He knows it.
In Star Wars, when he kills the Admiral,
Yeah.
he's like,
No, but really go on YouTube and watch videos of TIE Fighter gameplay. Seriously, just go do it. So search for TIE Fighter. You'll find it.
we'll link to something.
We'll link to some. All right. My thing of the day. So
Thing of the day.
apparently it might have been E3. I don't remember. I don't know. I watched this video the other day, but it's some game. I think it was E3. there were some Italian guys, and they were actually protesting because Mario was such a bad Italian stereotype. You know, it's sort of like when those people were complaining that Resident Evil 5 was racist. You know, same kind of thing. And you know, they're kind of right. It's kind of surprising that, you know, nobody's really complained about, you know, the racistness of Mario. I mean, come on. He's like a Luigi, dude. It's all.
It's me, Mario, Captain Luibano.
Come on. I mean, no one seems to care about this. You know, it's like if Mickey Mouse was like, you know, like, oh, I am the French Mickey Mouse. Oh. I can't even do French and Mickey Mouse at the same time. Yeah, how do you do that and also be
I don't think it's possible.
Anyway, you know, people would be like, what the fuck is this shit? You know, there'd be big complaints, but no.
Well, part of it is that Mario has been such an institution for so long, and if anyone had made a complaint in the early days when it was 8-bit, could they have been taken seriously?
No, I guess
the
not.
The answer is no. And then, as graphics got better, it was far too late to make a complaint.
But anyway, the thing about this video is not just that some guys were complaining about the racistness of Mario. It's that it's pretty unbelievable. It's like 2 internet videos joined into one. Because, I mean, that alone would be internet video, right? But an escaped gorilla kidnaps their girlfriend while this video is being... It's unbelievable. And then they go and they rescue the girlfriend. It's unbelievable. You have to see this shit.
The hat and the mustache. And oh my god, the mushrooms. So anyway, we came up with this show kind of out of nowhere because there was an article somewhat recently that we both read independently. We didn't talk about it. And Scott brought it up and I remembered it. And we realized this pretty much makes for a very interesting Tuesday show, and I can't believe we never talked about this before.
Yep.
And maybe we did, but I'm not going to go through the archive.
Well, I think we did a show on griefing where we discussed many of the things that we will probably repeat ourselves in this show, but there is a very big difference between griefing and cheating, and I think cheating does demand its own episode. But before we just dive into cheating, let's talk about this article here.
So a Loyola professor made a character in City of Heroes, City of Villains called Twixt. And he seemed to play this game for fun, but also for academia. And he, in the course of play, decided to engage in a number of so-called breaching experiments where he would breach social mores that were not enforced by game logic. It's basically the equivalent of doing a study where, in the real world, you get into an elevator, the door closes, and you face all the other people instead of facing the door.
Yeah, think about it. Whenever you're in an elevator, right? Everyone in the elevator puts their faces towards the elevator door, right? If you get an elevator and you put your back to the door and look at all the people in the elevator, they'll freak out. Do it. It's fun.
Yep. But it's the idea that if there is some sort of unenforceable or unenforced social more or some sort of thing that is legal to do, possible to do, easy to do, and even beneficial to do, that due to some societal unwritten restriction is never done, you can cause all sorts of havoc by breaking it. And he uses these video games that have basically a completely 100% fabricated, made-up internet culture in them to see how universal these concepts are. And he basically... And all I could think of reading this article was way back when we used to play, Jedi Knight?
Jedi Knight 2.
Yeah,
which was on the Quake 3 engine.
It was basically an FPS lightsaber game.
It was an FPS, but you also had lightsabers.
But Scott and I played it with each other a whole bunch, and then we started playing online. I remember every time we played online, I would run into a server, and there'd be like 20 people all fighting with lightsabers.
Well, it was
crazy.
only on the dual servers, because there were servers where you could play the actual FPS, but there were also servers where you would just have lightsaber duels, and it was sort of like Ricochet, where 2 people would fight at a time, and everyone else would just sort of be waiting.
Yep.
Or maybe it would do like, round robin tournament.
But this happened
things.
to me a few times, even in these kind of freewheeling servers, where it'd be a melee, but everyone's was like 10 people fighting all over the place, and someone would come in front of me. And he'd stop and look at me, and he'd do his little bow, like, do you want a duel? And I'd just kill him.
Yep.
But in the duels, it was even worse. Like, the game would start, and both players, walk right up next to each other, lightsabers out, and they'd both, duck in the Counter-Strike teabagging motion, back away, and then
I think
fight.
some people would, they wouldn't duck, they would look at the ground and then look back up again to make their character lean over.
Everyone would basically bow, and there was all this sort of formalized, unwritten, unenforced by the game logic culture in the game.
Yeah, I would just kill anyone who bowed immediately. I'd be like, I win.
If someone bowed, their head came off in a second. I was banned from servers for that by touchy
And the thing
admins.
is, if they, when the next person, thing is, if you didn't bow, people got pissed and they'd really freak out on you. I was all dark side. I get him with my lightning.
Yep.
I'd be like, yeah, that's right, dude.
But the game was kind of broken that as long as you had good FPS and skills, you could just run away from someone, lightning them until they die.
Oh, yeah.
And there's basically nothing they
No,
could do
but we're not talking
about
about the game. We're talking about the game had sort of an unwritten rule, and people got really pissed if you broke this unwritten rule.
And this wasn't even like a glitch or anything. This was just this rule that came out of nowhere that players enforced on their own as best they could. It didn't come from the game designers, didn't come from the game world. It came from nothing but the players. And yet people would lose their shit if you didn't follow the arbitrary rules that weren't written down anywhere.
Now, the thing is, right, as we're going to discuss, I do not consider this, and I would argue that it is not cheating, right? Killing someone while they're bowing isn't cheating.
It's no different than killing someone while they're typing. And you know what? If I see that flag in Quake 3 that means you're typing, that is a beacon for a railgun to the head.
Mm-hmm. And basically the argument here, right, is what is cheating, right?
Oh, I want to at least mention the rest of this article.
All right. Oh, there's more to the article? Ooh,
Well,
very interesting.
Because the guy who did this, he did this in this MMO, and he basically did what we did, but he did it methodically and in such a way as to kind of catalog how people responded and reacted. And all he would do was go into these PvP areas where traditionally players wouldn't actually do the PvP, like many versus many fight, which was to capture all these pillboxes. The players would all kind of ignore each other, even though they were enemies, and farm XP.
Uh-huh.
Or they would like fight these little duels where like two of them would fight in like one corner of the map and all these people would stand around and watch. And he would join these matches and just proceed to win trivially. So, and he would use just intelligent basic strategy and nothing against the rules, no glitches. He didn't even come close to using a glitch. He did everything that was perfectly just within the scope of the game.
Well, that's a case of, basically by the definitions that I hold, right? Those people, right, who everyone else but him was actually a griefer. It's just they were all griefers. Well,
the thing is, what he discovered was that as he played this way, people, like, they went crazy to a degree that is laughable. Like, he got death threats toward the end of this. People constantly made big petitions to get him banned from the game. It got to the point where entire groups of people would just make alternate characters, level him up all the way, attack him constantly en masse to try to force him off. But because he used these basic strategies that they never apparently thought of, he would beat them anyway.
Really? Wow, it's that kind of game?
He basically by playing smartly, could beat people consistently, and they could really do nothing about it because they refused to do what he did, which was just basic strategy. They thought that whatever that strategy was, which had to do with teleporting people around the map, was unfair and against their social mores. They refused to do it, and they got mad when he did it. And even the game designers basically sided with him, saying, look, this is part of the game, deal with it.
Oh, nice. Good game designers.
But the fact that, like, you should read the article to see all the details, but basically he determined that humans will almost immediately resort to the most brutal things they can possibly resort to enforce their own personal arbitrary social mores. And if those mores are unenforceable by their own laws or by the laws of their society, they will pretty much immediately do anything they can to circumvent those laws in order to enforce their own fake laws. And he makes some interesting conclusions, and it's an interesting read.
Mm-hmm. But how this relates to cheating, right, is that, the discussion of, is this guy cheating? Were the other people cheating? What is cheating, right? And, of course, these other guys, right, the guys who were getting killed, they would definitely argue that this guy was cheating. No question they would argue that. And there's a reason they are wrong. And the reason is this, right? We did a show about griefing. And griefing was defined as you have someone playing a game, right? And they're not breaking the rules of the game, but what they're doing is they have a different goal, right? So let's say we're playing Monopoly.
The game theory term is utility.
Right, different utility. So we're playing Monopoly, right? And me and Rim are both obeying the rules of Monopoly. Rim wants to win at Monopoly, so he wants to get the most money, and he wants me to go bankrupt, right? I don't want to win. I don't care if I go bankrupt or not. I just want to piss Rim off. No, I just want to get as many houses as I can. That's my goal, to get a lot of houses, you know? So I just buy as many houses as I can. I never buy hotels. I get and I just get as many properties as I can, but I don't really care about trying to get a lot of money, you know? And I just, I'll be willing to spend like all this extra money to buy properties from you and get houses or whatever.
Now, we're basically playing two different games in the same space, but my utility of the game as was laid forth and as people, like the actual game, as per the rules, going toward the victory condition, is ruined by the fact that the people I'm playing with aren't going toward the written victory condition anymore.
Yep, so in the situation in the City of Heroes, Villains, whatever, right? There's a game of the, heroes versus villains, kill all the heroes, kill all the villains. And this guy is playing that game, and that's the utility he has. But apparently, the utility the game intends you to have.
But apparently no one else wants to play that game.
All of the other players have an alternate utility of get tons of XP or do whatever the hell they're doing. So, it's actually, even though it would seem as if he was the griefer, he's the one who's actually has the intended utility. Therefore, all the other players are griefers.
Well, of course, the other interesting thing here is in the whole game theory, game theory, nominally, you can use it to determine what the best possible course of action is for a rational actor in a situation. So the idea that, I act in my own best self-interest, and I assume that everyone else is acting in their own best self-interest. So I play games, and I try to win said games. And I don't cheat, but I use whatever tools the game gives me to the best of my ability. But a lot of people in a lot of competitive games, if someone uses a strategy that is perfectly legitimate, but that they perceive somehow is unfair, they will basically accuse you of cheating.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're following the rules completely. And in my entire life, I have been one of those people to where if something works, I will do it constantly and repeatedly until it no longer works.
Yes, take, for example, the snaking in Mario Kart DS, right?
It makes it a worse game, but it's in there. I cannot not do it.
Yes.
Can a fire butt burn if there is brush before it?
So here's the thing with cheating, right? A game is defined by its rules. The rules of Monopoly are Monopoly. If you change even one rule, that's not Monopoly. That's some other game, right? I mean, and that's not to say that, there's lots of complexity to that, and look at something like baseball, right? The rules of baseball change a lot over time. How they change stadium to stadium, right? And you call it Major League Baseball, but really, every different stadium, American League, National League, every different year where the rules change, those are all actually different games. A game is its rules. So a cheater or cheating is when you declare, yes, I am playing this game, but you actually break the rules in some way. That's sort of obvious, right? But if you accept the fact that a game is defined by its rules, a cheater is actually someone who, they're not just breaking the rules, right? They declare that they're playing one game, but they're actually playing a different game. See, a griefer is someone with a different utility. A cheater is someone who's actually not playing. They're doing something else, but they're in your game. So what this something else they're doing is interacting with the game that you are playing in some way.
Now, there's also the huge, what amazes me is that I see people complaining that other people are cheating at single-player games. And I don't think there's even, there is even any discussion there. If you own a game, you should be able to do whatever you want with it. Who cares?
Well, the question of are they cheating, yes or no, right? Well,
I don't think it even matters at that point.
Well, I don't think it matters either. But there is a question of are they cheating or not. And I would say, in a video game, right? You look at a board game, right? The rules are, the game, and cheating is breaking the rules or not playing a different game. So if you do something that is contrary to what the rule book says, then that is cheating, right? But in a video game, there isn't necessarily a comprehensive rule book. I mean, something like Civilization 2 back in the day came with a big old rule book with all the rules in it. But, modern video games don't come with dick for dick. Maybe they'll come with a PDF manual if you're lucky, right? So the rules of a video game are the source code of the video game. And therefore, if you do not modify the source code of the video game, it is impossible. And the game, this obviously cheat modes that are in the game, they're labeled cheating. So those are obviously a separate thing,
Well, are they, though? Because they're straight up part of the game. I can do it.
They are part of the game.
And also, Scott, if you're going by that logic, all right, I don't have to modify the source code of Counter-Strike to use an aimbot. In fact, I could use an aimbot that just watches what comes out of the game and then directs inputs into the game.
That is true.
Is that cheating then? By your definition,
I
no.
would actually say it is not cheating, but what it is you are not actually playing. Some computer program is playing in your stead.
All right.
It's a completely different thing. You're not cheating at the game. You're not breaking the rules of the game. What you're doing is you're not playing. Someone else is playing for you. Some computer program is playing the game.
However, I would make the argument that at least
if you make the argument that sort of aimbot is cheating, then you have to also make the argument that just a bot is cheating if you play against bots.
No, what I would argue is that colloquially, I think it is more useful to apply the broad term cheating to that situation.
Perhaps.
Because if I'm playing Quake 3 and I just have an aimbot to whenever I hit middle mouse, it just puts the pointer on the head of the nearest person in my sights, that's cheating.
Oh, hey, if it's not modifying the source code of the game, you're not breaking the rules.
I disagree with that.
You're just
definition.
not playing. Some very good computer is playing instead of you.
But Scott, I think it's a pointless distinction.
I think it's a useful distinction.
No, because part of it is that how is it actually useful though?
Well, because you're still playing Quake 3. You're not, doing anything that's like otherwise, if some guy's rocketing around without taking damage when he should be,
Scott,
that's cheating.
By the same token, one of the implied ideas of playing a game like this, especially, a multiplayer online game, is that you are the person you say you are. That I am playing, I am Rim. Rim is playing. If I'm using an aimbot, I am cheating and that I am saying that I am Rim, but I am not Rim.
Well, you might be lying, right? And, you could not, legally attribute the victories and losses
Besides,
to yourself.
Scott, by your definition, there's basically practically zero cheating in any multiplayer game in the world.
No, most cheating is modification of source code.
No, it really isn't.
Yeah, it is.
So what? Name some cheating then.
Like all the Counter-Strike aimbots, they don't work the way they don't look at the screen and then move the mouse.
But how is that a useful distinction?
Because you're either breaking the rules of the game or you're not. It's if something that looks at the screen and then moves the mouse is not breaking the rules of the game. It's not doing anything that is outside the bounds of what is allowed by the rule book.
All right, so name a non-FPS example of cheating then.
A non-FPS example of cheating?
Yes, because I think your definition is so narrow as to be useless.
You play Yahtzee, you roll the dice, and then you just turn them all to 6. And you say, look,
in
Yahtzee.
a video game.
Oh, in a video game?
Because this is where your definition, I think, breaks down.
A video game example of cheating that is not an FPS? You just you hack the game to give yourself like 1 million golds.
And who does that in
competitive
competitive multiplayer games?
In a competitive multiplayer game.
Because that's the only place where cheating matters. If you're cheating in a single player game, great.
Yeah. Does it really happen?
And colloquially, who is going to argue that an aimbot is not cheating?
Well, it depends on most aimbots are cheating. They're not using the non-cheating method that you just described.
But it wouldn't be that hard to make an aimbot that just basically I have to change some arbitrary parameters. It does the exact same thing, and suddenly it's not cheating because of some semantic BS.
No, an aimbot that didn't cheat. You need like a camera looking at your monitor.
No, not even that. I could just have a program that sits in line, analyzes what the video card is doing, and then makes decisions. I'm not modifying the game. I'm just reading the information the game has.
And so basically you're just connecting the video output to the mouse input?
I'm not modifying the source code. What if I have something that just reads all of the game's RAM in real time and then just gives me all this extra information from the RAM? I'm not modifying anything. The information is clearly available technologically. The source code lets me read it.
Yeah,
So there's basically nothing is cheating.
Yeah.
So the definition is basically useless.
It's not useless.
I think it's useless.
No. Anyway, so the thing is, right, we talk about, cheating is breaking the rules of a game, and you see this guy who's playing a City of Heroes. He's not breaking the rules of the game in any way whatsoever. Everything he does is perfectly in line with the rules of the game. Everything that he does is, it's what the game lets him do. And
see, I think your extreme example is useless. I mean, a good example of this, I think, would be I used to play Weapons Factory. There was the successor to Team Fortress. It was the Quake 2 mod versus Capture the Flag, classes, recons, all that stuff. And there used to be flash grenades, and they were great. They were too great. They blinded you for like 20 seconds.
That's way too long.
And you could carry like 15 of them at a time.
That's just the problem with the game being bad.
And the recon could fly, but people didn't really use them that much. So one day, on Bass Ackwards, one of my favorite maps, me and my friend Ken, we decided, hey, let's win the game. Let's just win this game for the clan. So what we did is we were both recons. We flew to the enemy base, and in the enemy base was the flag thing, but we didn't even bother capping. There was also a button hidden in the wall that was known. It was part of the map. You could hit this button, and it's the equivalent of a field goal. So you'd get, like 100, 200 points for capturing the flag. You'd get like 3 points if you hit this button, and you could hit it every like 30 seconds in the enemy base. It was basically the tiebreaker. I can't capture the flag, but I run in here and hit this button.
Oh, that's pretty good.
We went in there, and we had an engineer outside who basically provided us with ammo forever. He was hiding. And I flew around the top, dropping a flash bomb every 20 seconds.
Very nice.
Meanwhile, Ken would swoop down, hit the button. And then every minute or so, we'd switch it up. And then we'd periodically swap out, and one of us would go get ammo and come back. And we basically kept the entire enemy team blind and stupid for the entire map, and we won on nothing but field goals.
There you go.
I was banned from a couple servers for it. I was hated forever. And not that long after, they ended up removing Flash from the game.
There you go. See, I mean, there are many games that have problems. I mean, that's directly in line with, the snaking in Mario Kart DS, right? It's something that, even if you might call it a glitch, right? The minus world in Mario 1 or something that was not intended, right? There are plenty of games out there that have bad rules. I mean, look at, stuff in like D&D 3rd edition. They wrote it right into the rule book. You got the 10-foot reach and the whole thing. You could hit them and take a step back and hit them and take a step back, and they can't hit you.
Well, this is the real situation. The conflation between cheating and just being good at a game.
Yep.
Because I've been kicked from servers in the past, and so has Scott, and I'm sure a lot of you have, for being accused of cheating when in fact, no, I was just really good. I mean, I've gotten headshots that were improbable, but they were legitimate headshots, and I was kicked for being an aimbot, even though I wasn't. But especially with games that are complex, or games that involve when there are many different strategies you can employ. A lot of times, a smart player will identify the most effective strategies. And if there is a strategy that is greatly more effective than any other strategy, you're a fool to not use it, in my opinion, because now you're basically violating your own utility. You're breaking it's cognitive dissonance of you could win. It's like playing poker and you have a royal flush, but you decide it's unfair that you have a royal flush, so you decide to fold anyway.
Yeah.
Or you don't go all in. You say, you know what? I'm not going to go all in because that's mean.
Well, that's not cheating. It's what's called cheap, right? People think it's cheap.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. That's the much more interesting argument, that people perceive things as being unfair in games, but oftentimes what they perceive as being unfair is just a strategy they're unwilling or unable to employ that is far more effective than the one that they themselves employ.
Yeah, I think the thing is, if a game has a cheap strategy available, and the reason a strategy is cheap, right, is not just because it's extremely effective and you win, it's also because it's relatively trivial to employ. I mean, really, people don't have a problem if there's a game that has a very powerful strategy that is difficult to employ.
They do. Look at snaking. Snaking on...
It's not that difficult.
It was difficult on any, but there were a few maps it was easy on, but...
It's much more difficult to, say, hit all of the shortcuts with precise timing than it is to snake down the straightaways. Yet, going down all the shortcuts with precise timing is much more difficult than snaking down the straightaways. So it's a matter of... But
if a strategy is so trivial, then everyone could do it. So that means that someone is choosing not to use an optimal, obvious strategy.
Of course. I mean, look, an example of having no cheapness, right? Look at, what did we play? We just played Power Grid, right? In Power Grid, some power plants are better than others. But the better power plants are more expensive. The awesome fusion power plant is minimum $50, 50 electro, right? If the fusion power plant was 1 electro, it would be cheap. It wouldn't be cheating. It would just be a bad game that had these cheap and effective things in it. So if a game has something that could be considered cheating, some strategy that just dominates, that's trivial to employ, yeah, and people consider it cheating, but it's not. It's perfectly in line with the rules. It's just a bad game that has cheap things in it.
Well, one thing I do find interesting is that the thing that cheating is pretty much come down to online, as far as I can see. What people complain about the most and say is cheating the most are people who buy gold or gold farm or use bots to get experience in MMOs. it seems like that is the quote unquote cheating that most of the internet is most in an uproar about, even though I don't consider it cheating.
Yeah. Well, that is one problem I have with MMOs and some other games online a lot is they like to enforce a lot of rules outside of the source code, right? Like, for example, I remember reading something way back in the early days of WoW about some people who were like able to get up on the roofs of some buildings and then shoot people from above, and no one could shoot back, and they killed a bunch of people from above, right? And then they got banned or something. It's like, your code let them get up on the roof and let them do that. They weren't, they didn't hack the game.
Plus, stuff like that brings forth some of the coolest and most fun things in MMOs. The best memories I have are when someone figured out something crazy you could do, and then the game world went crazy for a few days until the admins were like, wait a minute, okay, something's going on here. But rather than banning all the people involved, the best way to handle it was to do something clever or equally clever to fix it. Say people are getting on the roofs and doing something like that. Introduce some monsters that fly around and eat people on the roofs.
Or maybe let them fix it so that people on the ground can shoot back. Or fix it so no one can get on the roofs anymore. Or, don't go doing, just bullshit, just smacking people down for being awesome.
Or look at the ever famous, the murder of Lord British.
Exactly.
That was one of the most epic moments in MMOs ever. I mean, I still know people who to this day are like, I was there. I was there when Lord British died, and it was crazy, and the internet went nuts about it, and it was super awesome. And they basically reacted to it in the absolute worst possible way. If they'd been cool, they would have just made the game world be like, all right, Lord British is dead.
Awesome.
You assholes brought this on yourselves.
Yeah, it made bad shit happen.
And then they could have had some sort of cool story arc, and then
Lord
later
British was keeping out the bad guys. Here they come.
Have Lord British come back, or have some like gigantic final quest in the game to bring him back from the dead.
Zombie British.
You can sum it up pretty simply. Solve in-game problems in-game.
Yep.
Don't solve them out of game, because all you do is make your game crap.
Yep. And likewise, it goes in the reverse direction, right? Look at like some house rules like Monopoly. We always talk about the free parking and the money in the middle, right? Even though everyone agrees to do that, don't do that. You're all cheating. All of you. Everyone in the game is cheating.
Can you call it cheating if all the players in a game agree to a set of rules and a set of utilities?
Well, yes. If you don't want to call it cheating, you at least have to agree that you're not playing Monopoly. You're playing something else.
I think it's just a semantic point at that.
I think it's important.
I don't think it matters
because you get someone who'll come up and be like, "Oh, I'm so great at Monopoly." It's like, yeah, let's put some money in the middle. Wait, you're not playing Monopoly. So you're great at something else. You're great at being lucky at landing at free parking is what you're great at,
But that somehow without that, Monopoly is still a skill-based game.
I didn't say Monopoly is a skill-based game. Monopoly is just a real example, a good example for this kind of stuff, because people know the rules of it and how it works generally.
I mean, the only problem I see there, and it's always solved socially, if you play with people and some people don't know the rules because they've been playing the game wrong, and you either don't play with those people, force them to play the right rules, agree to a house rule. That's not really a concern.
Well, it's not. I mean, cheating. The thing is, people tend to think of cheating as something that just, ruins the game. I think there's a lot of cheating that isn't a concern, but it's still cheating. Semantically speaking. Like take for example this, right? We were talking the other day about Jigaboo Jones, right? The guy who can pretty much, if you give him 2 casino dice, he can roll whatever the hell he wants, right? And we talked about, well, if you're playing Burning Wheel, right, nowhere in the Burning Wheel rulebook does it really explicitly say that, look at Craps has very specific rules about rolling the dice. It has to bounce so many times, it has to hit the opposite wall, right? Burning Wheel doesn't really specify how the dice have to be rolled. It just says roll dice. So Jigaboo Jones playing Burning Wheel could make just 6s show up. He could roll 1 dice, get a 6 to show up every time, use a fate point, and basically roll in 1,000,000 successes, and he would win whatever he wanted to. And, this question of is it cheating came up for him to do that. And there's a couple valid arguments. One is that there's sort of this implication that when you roll the dice, you're supposed to roll them, and it should be random, and that Jigaboo Jones is clearly not random. He's just, he can fix dice because he has skills. The other argument was, Burning Wheel, really, it's like, sure, get all successes. Occasionally, you're going to want some failures. You're actually, in some ways, you're making the game worse for yourself. You're not really, you can't make the game better by fixing the results of the dice. You're just making the game different.
What came out of that conversation to me was this whole, you can make an interesting game. I like the idea now of some sort of role-playing game where the system for resolving conflicts is some sort of game of strength and or dexterity. Some sort of maybe you play a Mario Party mini game.
You play pick up sticks to determine who wins the duel of wits.
Something like that. Something you could practice outside a game. I just have this vague concept of I think you could make something strange and unique and interesting.
What's the game from Prince of Nothing?
Bajunka?
You could play some Bajunka. Or you could how about, you could lay a ghost stone in, as part of the game, something like that.
Well, in that case, it really just comes down to Lou Crane, in writing Burning Wheel, did not even consider the possibility of someone learning how to toss dice.
Nope.
So if you asked him, he would probably say, yeah, that's pretty stupid if you do that. And that, you enforce that socially, which is just what they did against the guy.
But isn't enforcing that socially basically the same as getting the guys off the roof in WoW? You're socially enforcing a rule rather than, putting it in the code or in the rule book.
Yep, it is. And that's why the house rules come down to everyone agrees to the rules, and you don't play with people who don't agree with the rules. If you're playing D&D and you have all these Beer and Pretzels house rules, as long as everyone in the game is aware of and agrees to them, that's great. And the problem with an MMO is that the only rules everyone agreed to when they played are the rules that are the source code and the rules in the TOS. So as a result, you can't, unless you're violating one of those two things directly, you're not really violating the social contract as far as I see, because in MMO, the coolest thing about MMOs is that they're a microcosm of the real world. And in the real world, say I'm country A and I want to do something and country B wants to stop me. If I have a bigger army than country A, there's no game master to say, hey, you can't invade country B. I just do it.
Yep.
And I like the idea that if you want to enforce non-written rules in an MMO or a game like that, you have to enforce them in the game within the context of the game. So the whole let's all get together and beat him, gang up on him, South Park style, is a fantastic response. The fact that they couldn't beat him was just hilarious.
Yeah.
And Burning Wheel, it just comes down to the fact that everyone in the group agrees. If you learned how to toss sixes and you could reliably toss sixes and you didn't agree to using a dice cup, we just kick you out of our Burning Wheel game.
Yeah, that's another thing is, there's not, a dice cup isn't, not allowed by the rules. You could definitely force people to use one.
Cheating, I would say that realistically, something is only cheating if it is against the stated accepted rules of the game that have been agreed to by all players in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's also something to think about, right? Is you look at something like, say, D&D, right? Where there's nominally this game master who decides the rules.
The best game masters just make shit up all the time in D&D because you have to.
So, but they make all this shit up, or maybe they enforce rules that aren't even in the book and all this stuff. Are the game masters, in a way, cheating? You see?
Well, in a game like that, it again comes down to what's the most enjoyable experience for the players as a whole.
There's also to consider,
and the consent of everyone playing under a game master implicitly agrees to the, however that they got game master's style of play. Whatever he does, that's why I'm playing in his game and not Joey Jojo's game.
Yep. There's also stuff to think about, like referees, right? Like look at basketball or soccer. There's certain sports or hockey. There's a lot of subjective rules. Maybe the ref didn't see the hook. Maybe, the ref thinks that's a foul that wasn't a foul.
But then that's a metagame, and that is part of the game. I mean, a valid strategy in hockey is hit him when the ref's not looking.
It's a very good strategy. Hit him when the ref's not looking.
And again, things like that are where some of the greatest, most amazing moments in gaming and sports and everything come from.
Yep.
Where someone pulls the crazy trick play that was technically correct, technically okay, the best kind of okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in video games, it's the same thing. When someone pulls off some crazy stunt that no one thought was possible and kills Lord British, how awesome is that? And then just respond to it in an intelligent and equally clever way, and everything works out in the end.
Well, how about do you actually cheat at anything ever?
The only game I cheat at, and I still cheat at it to this day.
Oh, it's euchre, right?
Is
yeah,
euchre,
yeah.
because euchre's a stupid game. Euchre's a memorized game. I'm a perfect euchre player. It's not hard to be a perfect euchre player. So the real game is how much table talk can you get away with before you're called on it? How much can you stack the deck? And in high school, we played euchre very pointedly. Everyone was constantly trying to cheat. Oh, directly. They were trying to stack the deck. They were trying to flip cards around. And that in itself was the game. We were playing a game where we agreed that everyone was going to try to cheat to their best of their ability.
Mm-hmm.
And it was super awesome as a result.
Well, how about like when I was playing Citadels that one time? And basically, I took the cards, I would pick a roll,
Cheater.
I would hand them to you unshuffled, you would fan them out and select one, and all I had to do was look at them while you fanned them and selected.
Now,
and I remembered what order they were in when I handed them to you.
I do not consider that cheating because, again, extant meta information. It's one thing if I look over your screen in T&E and see your tile.
That is clearly cheating.
But if I have not moved myself in any way, I'm sitting unmoving with blinders on, and you happen to get up and knock your screen over, and I see that you have no red tiles, I'm pretty much obligated to use that information against you.
Yeah, but doesn't it in also some way, it's not necessarily cheating because it wasn't your intent action to break the rules, but the rules are sort of broken by accident in a way.
But at the same time,
it's almost like a game glitch. So even though
if you
cannot be blamed for the cheating, and you, of course, would have to be expected to act on this information, you could justifiably asterisk the game.
But the real answer is if anything happens at all, you have to asterisk the game.
Yep.
You could keep playing or not, but the game's immediately asterisked. But at the same time, the asterisk comes automatically because I can't unsee what has been seen.
Of course, you cannot unsee.
And I cannot act as though I have not seen because I have seen. I cannot discount the information because the information is there.
Yep.
And even if I tried to discount it, like maybe I would have attacked even though I didn't know what your cards were. Maybe I had a 60% chance. Now I have 100% chance, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And also the situation where I used to do this a lot to you, where if you would always stack your tiles up in T&E behind your screen, I couldn't see the tiles, but I noticed that if you ever had a stack of 3 or more, when you were going for tiles of that color, you would reach at it from the top with your fingers. But if it was a small stack of like 1, you would come at it from the side. It was the subconscious thing, and it was reliable. And I used it to great effect because it was always right, and I would always know if you had 3 or less of a tile.
Yeah.
And eventually you stopped doing that because I pointed it out, but I don't think that was cheating any more than reading someone's poker tell is cheating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's like all these sort of metagame things, right? Can help you do things in the game that you're not breaking any rules of the game, but in a way, you are breaking the intent of the game. It's like the game intends for that information to be secret, yet you are discovering that information by accident or by on purpose.
But at the same time, it's
through means that are not breaking any of the rules.
It is a much more real-world scenario because in the real world, there is all this extant information, and an intelligent person cannot ignore extant information and succeed reliably over time.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing yourself a disservice to ignore extant information. I use that word a lot when we play board games because Scott has a terrible difficulty in keeping all of it together in some games.
Well, let's talk about, right, what do you do if you're playing a game, right? And let's say a board game just because it's more of a social kind
of question. And I fuck up on my own and no one knows?
No, and there's someone who's actually like a cheater. Like you go to a convention and there's someone who's like, they're trying to cheat to win.
It's very, very simple. And I use this policy universally. If I'm playing a board game, and someone cheats,
like actually cheating, like it's Monopoly and they're just taking money out of the bank.
And
slowly.
I catch them cheating, I call them on it immediately with proof. And if they don't admit to it, I end the game. Mm-hmm. And they're done. I will not play with them again. And that's it.
What if you do that and you're wrong?
Well, one, I wouldn't do that unless I had proof.
Of course not.
I mean, if I suspect someone,
wouldn't it be kind of awkward?
But then again, the way I play board games, it's very obvious if someone is cheating. And if I know someone is cheating based on that, all I have to do is wait for the point at which there is a reliable audit trail, because most board games have a pretty good audit trail to where you can count back turns and determine, he couldn't have moved more than X spaces and still have more than Y resources left. Hey, he has Z resources. That's impossible. He cheated. Mm-hmm. He might have made a mistake, and that's the point you call him on it, and then, you go from there. But I will end a game immediately if someone has cheated. And I will refuse to continue to play a game if someone cheated.
Mm-hmm. Is there any real like excuse for someone who's cheating?
Never.
No?
Nah.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Like there's no good reason to like go and break the rules?
Well, suppose your daughter was kidnapped.
Oh, okay.
And you're playing, and the guy says, beat me in Puerto Rico and I won't murder her.
Well, because, I mean, you talk about stuff, you look at like some of those mahjong shows and gambling and mangas.
Well, see, that's the situation. There are games like that where there are real world situations independent of games where cheating, as in going against the rules of something, the implied rules, the written rules, whatever, is in your personal best interest. And that brings up the same thing of enforcing game stuff in game. In the real world, you know what the rules are? Physics.
Yep.
And if you violate physics, you are cheating. That is the only way to cheat in the real world, really. So if I can get away with it, it wasn't cheating. And society may impose, based on the power they have over me, some punishment for some slight, I've broken a rule that society agreed upon. Society can punish me.
But that's just something that they're choosing to do also within the laws of physics.
That is it's Hannibal Lecter situation where if someone cannot be punished by society because society has no power over them, then they can get away with a lot and basically do whatever they want. And they have transcended humanity and they're a transhuman and they probably eat people. And I'm not advocating that people should do these sorts of things because I, like all good people, have an ethical and moral code. But at the same time, cheating is in the real world is this really strange, long, sliding, subjective scale. And cheating there's no such thing as absolute cheating because breaking the rules of a game is only cheating if it can be enforced by the rules of the world.
Yeah, I mean it's like, we in the real world, right? It's like no matter what anyone thinks, you can't,
Scott, look,
make something for nothing. It's the laws of physics are in the way.
The speed limit on the road outside our house is 15 miles an hour according to that sign.
Yep.
Have you ever seen anyone drive 15 miles an hour?
I did it a few times for lols.
Actually, I do it every day because it's hilarious.
Yeah. No, but, the laws of physics, you just can't break them. We can't do anything that breaks the laws of physics. But in a board game, the rules are just on paper. They're not actually physically enforced unless, you have some perfectly coded video game that, you didn't modify in any way, in which case the rules are physically enforced.
Now, the other issue too is some game, like I've seen some people discussing some games, they'll rate a game not just based on skill or luck or theme or any of those things, but based on the ability of players to cheat without being caught. And how enforceable the rules are in a game. Because some games have very unenforceable rules.
That's true. Some games, it's like you look at something like, say, T&E.
I could just draw 8 tiles and always have 2 extra tiles in the crib.
Yep, and nobody would really know unless they counted like the tiles in the bag or something, which is against the rules to count the tiles in the bag. So,
what you could do is in a tournament situation, what I would do,
have someone looking over everyone's shoulder.
No, every round, at the beginning and end of a round, players would have to flip all their tiles over, hide their score, and turn over their screen.
That's not bad.
And show all of their face-down
What if I just
tiles.
kept a tile up my sleeve?
Well, yeah, but everyone has to wear short sleeves.
Okay, I kept it in my pants.
No pants.
I have sleight of hand.
No hands.
No hands.
You stand behind Lucite and you direct other people with notes that you press up to the glass.
Yeah, all right. No.
Anyway, but my take on that is that if that's even a concern for you, your friends are all douchebags and you shouldn't be playing games with them.
Yeah.
It has never in my life been a concern that any of my friends would ever cheat at a board game. Ever.
I mean, it's actually sort of fun because they'll always, like, if someone's doing well, be like, you cheater, you're cheating. Like, we accuse people of cheating sort of sarcastically all the time, but no one ever actually intentionally cheats. Now, occasionally, sometimes, there's of course asterisk, but there are also situations in which, someone will maybe forget to do something or they'll do something incorrectly accidentally, right? Like,
luckily, it's rare that it goes unnoticed just because German style board games tend to be so just number heavy, and we're all concentrating and analyzing so much that
Everyone's counting everything all the time.
like 3 people out of 5 will pretty much immediately notice any discrepancy on the board at any given time.
Yep.
Like, hey, there's only 2 rocks on the rock thing. There should be 3 because the rock thing came out 2 turns ago. Someone forgot to take a rock, blah, blah, blah.
I think it's actually really cool when you have some of the cool video games will actually keep a log of the whole game. Like Wesnoth, you can play back the whole game.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that is really cool because if there's any discrepancy, you know, you can see it somewhere in the game log.
Or like Dracula, it has that great mechanic of the whole game is enforced by the cards you're putting down.
Well, Dracula, that's something to talk about, right? Let's talk about Dracula and Illuminati, because those are interesting games when it comes to cheating. Dracula had what's the game actually called? Fury of Dracula.
Fury of Dracula.
It actually, you know, the game has a cheating rule.
Well, here's the thing. Games, it's the same as Java. You have the exception. The game will throw an exception if something outside the rules happens. If you don't handle that exception, the game crashes.
Right, like Tigris and Euphrates. If someone cheats, right?
There's no way to recover.
There's no way to like fix the game. The game's just screwed up. It's over, right? But in Fury of Dracula, if someone cheats, the instruction book says, you know, if Dracula cheats, then this happens. And it's because Dracula is all alone. No one's allowed to look at what he's doing. So it's very possible for Dracula to do things in his hidden movement that are not legitimate. He can just move all the way across the board and try to cheat, right? But he can also be caught. And if he's caught cheating, then certain things happen that are very bad for Dracula.
Well, part of the reason...
But at the same time, that's sort of, right, having that rule on the one hand makes it so that the game's not going to get screwed up, right? If Dracula accidentally or intentionally cheats, right, the game can continue and it'll be okay. But in a way, that sort of encourages Dracula to try to cheat and get away with it.
Well, luckily it's difficult for him to do so.
It is very difficult to do so.
I think that's just a situation of, I think my Java exception analogy is probably the best one. Good games, I've noticed, have started to include ways to handle anomalous situations such that you can continue to play the game. Like we've seen other games where they have a rule for, what if some player just up and quits near the end of the game? Well, do this and this and this,
has that.
and then continue.
Mm-hmm.
And that also prevents the game from crashing. And like Euchre, we did the same thing. You know, when I said our friends all cheated, the way most people play Euchre, there's the renege and all the sorts of things that if you screw this up and you're caught, the other team gets 2 points. All this sort of stuff to just make the game continue to play. Because in the Wild West rules, there's no rule for it. If someone cheats the cards, what do? You either say, damn it, you cheated, or you shoot him.
In the face. Yeah. No, but Illuminati actually has the cheating rule is try to cheat and don't get caught.
No. Illuminati has 2 modes of play. Don't cheat, try to cheat. And the cheating game has rules for cheating. And basically, it specifies you are allowed to cheat in these areas. You're not allowed to cheat in these areas. Here's what happens if someone catches you cheating.
Yeah, what it really does, see, they call it cheating, but what it really is, it says, okay, you're allowed to break these rules, right, at any time as long as you aren't caught. So really all it's doing is just adding extra things to the game in terms of, you know, making sleight of hand skills and distractive skills sort of count that otherwise don't count. And it allows you to use, you know, different abilities in different ways. It's kind of interesting, you know. It's like normally, you know, you wouldn't do those things at all, or if you did them, your game would be fucked up. But in Illuminati, you know, they explicitly tell you to try to do those things, and as long as you don't get caught. That's kind of interesting. It's like, hey, play Illuminati, but also play the don't get caught game.
Yep. Now, along those lines, you ever run into the situation where you accidentally cheated at a game?
Sometimes. Well, I never accidentally cheated.
Well, not cheated, but where,
for example,
like you look down and you're like, all right, I took 1 too many tiles. I have 7 tiles. It's T&E. Oh, shit.
Yeah, or, oops, I made the change improperly. I have to give some back. Or, you know, oops, I'm not sure that I have supposed to have that many
The way I handle it is if it's something that can't affect another player and it's not something that can affect the game directly, I will always go with the route of do whatever resolution is the most harmful to me.
Yeah, like if I accidentally
well, like if I'm not sure whether or not I took my victory points for the Baphomet in the previous turn, I just don't take it. It's like, well, I don't know if I took it or not, so I can't take it.
Yep.
At best case, I'm fine. Worst case, I'm down 1 point.
Like, oh, did I collect my money for the that income there? Oh, I forget if I collected it or not. I just won't collect it. You know, if you collect it, well, then maybe you collect too much. But if you don't collect it, well, then maybe you didn't collect enough, and maybe that would have helped you win. But at least this way, you know, you're sort of cheating to harm yourself in a way rather than cheating to help yourself.
Yep.
I mean, you know, it's like, I guess in some games, you know, taking less money might be an advantage too if this game has some sort of tax mechanic or something. But, you know, in most games, you know, no one's going to complain if you cheat to bring yourself down and farther away from winning.
But even then, in that situation, anytime I've screwed up a rule, and I think anyone who plays games should do this, you kind of say, hey, everybody, I screwed this up. Here's what I did. How do we resolve this to continue playing the game?
Yep.
I accidentally have 7 tiles. How about I flip them all over and someone randomly take one out right now and throw it away?
Mm-hmm.
You know, something like that.
Yep. That's not a bad idea. Yeah.
But I want to get back to Burning Wheel because we talked earlier about...
Well, Burning Wheel also, that was the one other thing I had to say about it was that it actually says in the rule book, like, hey, don't worry if you screw up some rules sometimes. You know, there's so many rules here. No one's perfect. Just, you know, if you screw something up, maybe you won't notice it. But if you do notice it, don't try to fix it. Just make a note of it so you don't screw it up next time and continue. You know, and that's sort of like, hey, you know, the strict rules lawyeriness is not the biggest deal in Burning Wheel. Having a good time is the biggest deal. And, you know, that's appropriate because Burning Wheel is a role-playing storytelling game and not a winning-losing game. But in a winning-losing game, you couldn't have that kind of rule. It wouldn't work out at all.
Yep. But, I mean, this is why Burning Wheel is so special, because in games, a lot of role-playing style games, there's the whole meta game where, you know, my character doesn't know something, but I know it. And DMs always have to deal with the problem of a player will have their character act in a certain way that they wouldn't have normally done because the person playing the character knows something they saw on the other person's character sheet. That sort of thing. And the reason I love Burning Wheel so much is that the game is designed to encourage you to do that, and that by doing that, the game will be better. That doing the meta stuff by very
things
pointedly,
that would by some be considered cheating actually make the game better.
Yes.
So doing everything you possibly can to get your way can only improve the game and cannot worsen it.
Do we have anything else to say?
I don't know. We had a lot of stuff going on
Don't cheat at games. Gold farming isn't cheating because it doesn't hurt anyone but no one.
Yeah. Cheating pretty much, you know, depending on your definition of cheating, if you agree with me or Ram, I think we both agree that, you know, cheating is, you know, whether it's cheating or not, it's only wrong if you're, you know, breaking the rules to get an unfair advantage and you ruin the game for other people. That's the big deal.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Odeo. Just click the link that says Send Me an Odeo on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.